Hello and welcome to polyplane.com. Today we're going to be talking about unrolling surfaces and the Smash tool in Rhino. And I came across a really cool site. It's called toyaday.blogspot.com. And they have these cool little paper cut toys that you can cut and print out. And I thought this was a great analogy kind of what the unroll surface tool does. So you can take an idea and print it out flat and then reassemble it to create, a little toy figure. This is really similar to if you've ever looked at packaging die lines where you have a three-dimensional form and you kind of want to flatten it out. So let's take a look. So here I have a cylinder, and I'm going to first do this with the unroll surface command. That command is unroll srf, and I'm going to select my poly surface and hit enter a couple of times. And I have my labels turned on, but you can see what happened. It just unrolled the surface, leaving all the parts intact, and it's even given me labels. Now I have the labels selected as on, so you can see kind of like where each seam is. So 0 corresponds with 0, 1 with 1, and 2 with 2. And this is really cool if you want to say print something out and then reassemble it. Now keep in mind you'd probably have to add some tabs on here if you wanted to cut this out and glue it back together, but it's a really useful segue into something we're going to get into in a few weeks called UV mapping, which kind of explains how an image can be wrapped around a surface. So anyway, without getting distracted by that, that's one way to unroll a surface. Another cool tool that's kind of specific to Rhino, but there are lots of programs that do this specifically for image mapping purposes. This one's called Smash. And the reason it's useful is if I were to try to use the unroll surface command on this shape right here, it's not going to work. And here's why. The unroll surface command works great with things that don't have compound curves. Now, because this form here bends both on the z-axis and the y-axis, so you have a shorter arc here and a longer one here, the unroll surface command doesn't exactly know what to do with that surface. So this is why I use the smash command, which is sort of a more advanced version of the unroll, where you're just selecting your form, hitting enter and hitting enter again. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you the same sort of thing, only it's taken into account the whole unrolling of that surface. Now if I were to try to assemble this, I would just print this out and I would tape 1 to 1, 0 to 0, and 2 to 2. But again, it's not taking tabs into consideration, so that's something you'd have to build out. So for example, with this form, because I know 1 is going to go with 1, I might just put a little tab on here. Then now 1 can be glued to 1, and you would just repeat that with the other two sides. So if I were to take this, I can actually print out that viewport, and now you can see I can just take this and print it out. Now the other thing I could do is I could take this into Photoshop, illustrate on it, staying within the lines, and then print it out, and then you'd have some color that you could put on your form. The other form that I have in here is a little more complicated. All these corners are compound curves, so let's see how the smash tool works with that. So I'll type smash, hit enter again. This is great. So although this example might be a little bit on the complicated side, the overall idea remains the same. You're taking your model and unwrapping it so you can see it in 2 dimensions, and then take that and bring it into Illustrator or Photoshop and either print it out or paint on top of it and then print it out and reassemble it. But I just want to show you guys this pretty interesting method for flattening your object and taking it and actually being able to bring it into 3D space in lieu of a 3D printer. So thanks so much for watching and have a great day. See you next week.